You are listening to Mining Stock Education, where you'll learn from the top leaders in the natural resource sector and uncover quality mining investment opportunities.
When we look at this thing, and we already know we have a 1,000-meter intercept of about 0.45 copper equivalent, we know that there's going to be a causative intrusion to that should have higher grade. And so, the opportunity is very clear to us. I think for me, going back again and spending, a bunch of days there, it's just the scale of the opportunity that's hard to get your head around. I mean, literally when you're at the top of the hill and you can see Refugio, you can see Caspice, you can see, another deposit called Luciano to the south, it's absolutely compelling. And to think that, these 4 porphyry centers that we've identified that look similar to Caspice haven't been drilled. I mean, it's as an explorationist, it's what you're looking for in this world.
Welcome back to Mining Stock Education. I'm your host, Bill Powers. In today's show, we're getting an update from our sponsor, Torq Resources. Torq is advancing 2 copper gold projects in Chile. Joining me is the CEO and chair, Shawn Wallace, as well as the chief geologist, Michael Henriksen. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. And Michael, you just arrived back in Vancouver. You were boots on the ground at your Santa Cecilia project there. Could you remind listeners, as you engage in the surface exploration to further your drill targets for Q1 of next year, just remind us the context in which this project sits and why did you acquire it originally?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Santa Cecilia represents one of the largest, probably untested systems in Chile at the end of the day. It's been frozen in time since 1990. And within a 10-kilometer radius of the project, I think it's something on the order of 80 million ounces of endowment of gold and probably 20 billion pounds of copper. We're surrounded by the Norte Abierto joint venture held 50-50 between Barrick and Newmont, where their focus is the Caspice and Cerro Casale deposits. And, Caspice we view as just a part of the bigger system at Santa Cecilia. So, when we look at this thing, and we already know we have a 1,000-meter intercept of about 0.45 copper equivalent, we know that there's going to be a causative intrusion to that should have higher grade. And so, the opportunity is very clear to us. I think for me, going back again and spending, a bunch of days there, it's just the scale of the opportunity that's hard to get your head around. I mean, literally when you're at the top of the hill and you can see Refugio, you can see Caspice, you can see, another deposit called Luciano to the south, it's absolutely compelling. And to think that, these 4 porphyry centers that we've identified that look similar to Caspice haven't been drilled. I mean, it's as an explorationist, it's what you're looking for in this world.
And when you acquired this project, your Chilean team brought it to you. You already had, I believe, 2 drill holes that confirmed their subsurface mineralization, right?
Yeah, there was some drilling by a major mining company in the late 80s, and they were focusing on oxide gold. And in fact, they found a nice body of oxide gold. And then basically that ended in 1990. And then that's when the porphyry story started to become, early 2000s is when the porphyry story really came into shape at Caspice and Cerro Casale. And then basically the underlying owner decided in 2012 he wanted to see if he had a porphyry on Santa Cecilia. And so, put a couple of holes into it and lo and behold, it's there. Now, again, that's sort of the wall rock. It's not the causative intrusion that should have the grade. So in terms of us and our exploration plans, we have the benefit of knowing about Caspice and Cerro Casale and what that took to find. But we also have the benefits of proof of concept already on our ground. So we're way ahead of the game. So just a very rare opportunity in my mind.
So as the chief geologist, obviously you're going to be doing surface exploration and other things to define the targets, but are you also studying the exploration process and history of discovery of the surrounding deposits to inform your approach?
100%. I mean, you always want to know what people did to get themselves to a great outcome. And certainly we've done that, and we're applying it to what we're doing at Santa Cecilia. And we see a lot of parallels, quite truthfully. Obviously one of the things that we don't have and what we're executing on right now is just basic surface data, like a good geological map, modern day geochemistry, and then, modern day alteration mapping. And once we get all that together, that's when we're going to be in a position to really say, okay, here's where we want the first half a dozen to a dozen drill holes to be located. So very exciting process at the moment.
And Shawn, is there any problem getting a drilling contractor out there for Q1? Are you pretty well established with your connections?
Yeah, well, I think that, and Michael can actually speak to this more specifically because he was down into it. But it's very important that the selection of drill contractor because we're at altitude and there's the logistical challenges. So we want to have a drill contractor that will perform, that's done this type of drilling previously. But we've got that well in hand. We've been sort of doing that, planning that for some time now, and I think we'll be in good shape to get drilling here in the new year.
Shawn, you told me early on that you enjoy the challenge of a porphyry. You've done it before. Maybe talk through your philosophy as the chief executive of how you manage the exploration process and capital markets, because capital markets still are a little challenging.
Yeah, I mean, there's a great deal of uncertainty in the world. I mean, you read all these opinions people have, and they seem to, even amongst the opinion sharers, if you will, change them regularly now. And that sort of just indicates to me that we can't really grab onto any one trend or at this time. So it's incumbent upon us as management of this junior mining company not to keep the company as good a shape possible, capital structure, financial shape, retain as much of the key personnel and so forth. And like you said, negotiate good contracts that we can, execute on and so forth. Having done this many times, working on these big porphyries, that's sort of where I got my start in this business. I love it because once you tag into one of them, it's really easy to measure what you're going to have to do. The step outs and so forth. The technical risk sort of melts away once you find that grade, and so it's just a matter of keeping the company adequately financed. Right now, the challenge is with the uncertainty is making sure that we can meet our obligations, keep the company in good shape. Fortunately, we have good financial partners between our existing shareholders. We've got a major mining company in the mix now that's very supportive of what we're doing. We have a good iterative relationship with them. We talk to them frequently. They like what we're doing. And we're going to continue to make sure that that's the case.
Do they provide we're talking about Goldfields, for those that don't know, they invested $15 million at $1, which is a significant premium to, I believe, like about the 68-cent share price today. But Shawn, do they advise at all on the drill targeting, or are they more just wanting to keep abreast of what's going on?
Yeah, no, at this point, there's no advice being given, I don't think. So it's more just we're keeping them abreast of what's going on. And, we're early in the relationship, but I mean, they bought in based on our technical plan. And the confidence that we would spend the money judiciously. And that's certainly what we intend to do.
Michael, what is the cost of drilling in Chile? Can you break that down for us in Canadian dollars, please?
It's hard to say exactly at the moment because we're just getting all the bids in right now at the end of the day. So, I tend to think of cost of drilling as all-in costs, which include G&A the whole way through. And I would estimate you're probably looking, by the time you do everything that the company needs to do to support this, you're probably looking at about $600 a meter in that kind of location. And
we're looking at deep holes too, if we're talking about a porphyry system, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to drill any ultra deep holes. I don't think we need to because, our impression is that the mineralization is actually pretty close to surface, or should be. Some of it's even outcropping, in fact. So, we're not on the hook for, crazy deep holes. I think, it's too early to say because we're getting the work done right now, but I kind of anticipate 600 meters to 1,000 at the start will be plenty to test what we want to test. And, again, I don't think that doesn't mean that the target depth is down there. I just think we're going to see systems extend to depth, at the end of the day. That's exactly what will happen.
Well, I think that's a very good point, Mike. I think I hear this question a lot about this is a deep drilling project. If these holes go deep, that's actually the most positive thing. It's not that the mineralization starts deep, it has the potential to go deep. So starting deep is negative, going deep is extremely positive. It means that you've just got this mass body, and that's sort of one of the things that has attracted us as both from the financial side and the technical side in this, with the beauty of these big porphyry, these big granddaddy deposits that all the major mining companies covet because it has a big impact on their bottom line, long mine life, big metal output. So deep is good as long as it starts not deep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That simplifies it. Yeah,
it does. And you have community access and permitting all in place, right?
Yeah, we have 7 years duration for our current agreement with the local community. Obviously, that's a relationship that we take is very as a cornerstone relationship to our success. So we took a great deal of time in crafting the right agreement. Again, our team in Chile is very experienced at dealing with communities down there. And in fact, some of our team members had previous engagement with this particular community. So I anticipate that that's going to go well, as long as, it's incumbent upon us to do what we say we're going to do. And again, that's what we intend on doing here as we go forward.
And Michael, we also have your Margarita iron oxide copper gold project. You made advancements since we last spoke. Could you bring us up to speed? You've defined 800 meters at surface there.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, excellent result, greenfields discovery. When we first put that single drill hole into that anomaly, of course, we were wondering, what's the dimensions here? What does this become? And what we found here is so far we've got 800 meters that's open. So a wonderful start. We've seen mineralization in a bunch of different settings too. We've got two orientations of faults that are mineralized. I take that as a huge positive. We've got breccia bodies that sort of represent the highest grades that we've drilled to date in the system. And then we've got different intrusions that are also mineralized, and they look different. And I think when you take all of those factors combined, and you ask a technical group, what do they think? I think it's the variability of what we're seeing and the positive reinforcement of different structures and different intrusions and breccia bodies that makes us believe that this is a real system. And, we've got all these other targets that are untouched, that need that first drill hole, that look very similar to the greenfields discovery we made. So, for me, we got a lot of great targets to drill. I will say one thing that has consistently surprised us is the gold content in here. It's exceptional for an IOCG. And so we've had to rethink our exploration a little bit. We've had to go back to gold as a primary vector because the copper, quite honestly, is being leached from surface. So your copper indications on surface may not be your best ones, but the gold is going to be robust. So expect some new targets to come out from us in the coming months. But yeah, we're excited to get back to Margarita, no doubt.
So we could have drills turning at Santa Cecilia and Margarita this year then?
I guess if we can look into the crystal ball of financing, I would say absolutely, but from a technical perspective, absolutely one would want to do that, no doubt.
Okay, so Shawn, back to you on executive philosophy in light of Michael's comments. Your group with Ivan Bebic, you like to have 100% of a project. You want that upside, high risk. You want the reward when you're successful with the risk, but would you consider JVing with a BHP or an Anglo-American if you're having geological success on two huge projects, which do require a lot of capital to move forward?
We would not.
That's a bold statement.
Yeah, I mean, that would be you always plan. Again, you cannot ever say never, but that's certainly something that we desire. Because if you think about it, we want to get as much value. The people that are willing to take this ride with us, take the risk with us, purchase these shares, we don't pay dividends. We don't have earnings. So really what they're betting on is, Mike and his team going out there and executing and our company keeping the capital structure intact so they get the maximum benefit from it. And frankly, we can't do that if we give off half the company or whatever the percentage is that you would do in a JV. And also kind of impairs our ability for our exit. Our desired exit is to keep as much of this company owned by Torq and its shareholders, ultimately, for that takeover at the end, that premium takeover. When someone can't stand the fact that we're piling all these ounces and pounds of copper there, and they just can't stand, they're going to pay a big premium. And we want to maximize that benefit for all shareholders and stakeholders at that moment. So if it came down to you're going to lose the project or do a JV, then certainly we would consider it then, because we're not going to shoot ourselves in the head, so to speak. But that certainly isn't an outcome that I would desire.
Also, regarding Treasury, you got $15 million recently from Goldfields, as we've mentioned, but you also have an open $3 million credit facility with a friendly shareholder. You drew $500,000 on that. Maybe talk through why you drew $500,000 when you do have cash in the bank.
Well, the conversion factor on that was more accretive to us than the type of offers of financing we were getting. I can't say that we were getting offers of financing, but they were more dilutive, and they were less accretive. And so, we've done this for a long time. We're able to look at what sort of financing opportunities we have in front of us. And I think, the entire board participated in this decision to draw down on the line as opposed to take one of these. And I'm not, the market is what the market is, but it was we are the prey right now in the market, if you will. But what I can say is that we were offered a substantial amount of capital, but at a price that I don't think our shareholders would have found palatable at all. I know I certainly didn't.
I know I've been asked, especially early on when we were featuring Torq, why is their market cap so high pre-discovery? And my answer was always because of the people involved. Would that be an accurate statement there, Shawn?
Well, I like to think so.
Yeah, you support your stock very well. Michael, final thoughts as you prepare for drilling. Is that the next major press release investors should look for, the drill targets for Santa Cecilia?
Yeah, I think there'll be a combination of catalysts coming from both projects, honestly. You'll see a lot of development in Margarita with respect to the work we've been undertaking over the last several months. And then obviously, as the surface results start coming in from Santa Cecilia, I'm sure it's going to start painting a pretty nice picture of where we're going to be starting to plan to drill. So I think look for positive news and a lot of good targets that, will be very clear that they need to be drilled.
Okay, to learn more, go to TorqResources.com, ticker symbol in Toronto on the venture, TORQ, and in the States, TRB as in boy, MF. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on today's show and providing this update.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.